Hey, what's up there, YouTubers? It's me again, Brian, aka Gamer55551, and I am back with a My 2 Cent video for this week, for the week of August 14th to the 20th, though. No video game or movie review for this week, though. Again, certain things popped up, and sometimes in life, you gotta deal with it, to be exact, so there won't be any review for this week, though. Also, a bit off topic though, there certainly was an interesting situation surrounding the whole thing with Spawnwave, another YouTuber, over basically YouTube basically filed a copyright strike against him for some sort of link or something for Xbox or anything like that. It's a sort of an odd situation that's been going on, and it does kind of raise some questions about YouTube's handling of the whole copyright situations and all. However, this morning there was another Spawnwave that came up, so basically it doesn't seem like it's possible this issue could have been resolved, but still it kind of raises a whole lot of questions about YouTube's handling and ranging from, content ID and copyrights situation. It brings up a whole lot of questions, though. But either way, we do have 4 stories to cover, including Embracer Group buying a whole lot of studios, though, including non-gaming ones, especially involving the Lord of the Rings IP, to be exact, though. A new allegation has been leveled at Nintendo, and this was found out by Kotaku over the mistreatment of several employees, including women, and it has recently got a response from the head of Nintendo of America, Doug Bowser. We'll also be talking about Disney, and supposedly they're doing their showcase, and of course THQ Nordic did their showcase as well. If you're interested in where I got the source of these informations, links will be in the description of this video, assuming you're watching this on YouTube. But before we get started, I like to do what I like to call the quick My 2 Cents, stories that kind of caught my attention, but I'm not going to go into a huge amount of details, though. The first one has to do with the upcoming game Splatoon 3, as it appears to be, at least according to some folks, that one of the, I don't know if it's a Squid Sister or not, but one of the the pop stars though of it though, Shiver, appears to be, could be the first non-binary character in Splatoon 3. Now, Nintendo hasn't said anything at this time. We don't know if that's true or not, though. But if it is, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that or anything like that at all. So to me, it's not something to really lose sleep over if it turns out to be it's a non-binary character and all. But I will say that new song that they did for Splatoon 3, I will say that's probably the best one compared to Splatoon 1 and Splatoon 2. I know there may be some Splatoon fans out there that will disagree with me on that, but I think the new song for Splatoon 3, I really think it's the best one, though. We also learned that Commandos 3 HD Remastered will be making its way to the Nintendo Switch, supposedly, I think later this month, with a physical version at some point, though. Nice to see that the game is nice to see that we're seeing more like strategy games and all come to Nintendo Switch. Although the second one was brought over to the Nintendo Switch, the reviews were, from what I understand, didn't go over very well, to be exact, though. We also learned that there's supposedly been a maintenance spotted for Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp, though. This game has kind of been in limbo for quite some time, and originally it was supposed to come out this year, but due to the ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine, though, they decided to delay the game because of the fear of it being sort of sensitive at that time, though. There's been no word when they are planning to actually release this game, though. It's going to be very interesting to see how long Nintendo holds on to this title, to be exact, though. We also learned that basically Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes has surpassed 1 million units sold, or shipped, to be exact, though, and certainly that is definitely not a bad thing, though. I do definitely like the Nintendo-themed Warrior games. I think 3 Hopes is definitely good and continues that tradition. Yes, it is a Warriors game. Warrior games may or may not appeal to everybody out there, though, but still, it's nice to see it's doing very well, though. We also learned that supposedly Reggie Fils-Aimé has made a comment saying that Nintendo at one point was working on sort of an adaptive controller, somewhat similar to what Xbox has recently did, where they just released a adaptive controller as well for those with, I believe, like with a physical disability though. I mean, it's very impressive what Microsoft did. I gotta give them credit for making something like that. Whether Nintendo has continued or discontinued on that remains to be seen. But I'm all for these, adaptive like controllers or stuff to try to bring in more people into gaming and all that stuff. So I'm definitely definitely support these kinds of adaptive controllers. So we also learned that supposedly Private Division and supposedly a studio by the name of Workshop has a Lord of the Rings game in development though. No word in terms of platforms or what this game is going to be though. I mean, it could be the style similar to what Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor was. It could be a RPG. So there are many directions they could go with this, but right now it's too early to say at this moment. We also learned that supposedly there was a report of a fire broke out at Nintendo's Japanese headquarters. Nobody was injured or no reports of any injuries at this time though. Supposedly it seems to be under control now. Word has it that something was charging and that something may have caught on fire though. So hopefully everything turned out fine over there, and hopefully this won't have a huge impact at Nintendo, but we'll have to wait and see though. We also learned that supposedly the next Nintendo Switch for its online service, obviously this week, is Wave Race 64, and this one certainly is a very good title to be exact though. It's really a shame we only had 2 entries, or at least as far as I'm aware of Wave Race 64 and one on the GameCube. I think having one for the Nintendo Switch would certainly be nice to be exact, but nice that they brought Wave Race 64 to the Nintendo Switch Online expansion service though. We also learned that supposedly id Software is working hard on their next big game though. No word on what that game may be to be exact. It could be a brand new IP like what we saw with Rage, or it could be something, could be like a remaster or remake of, say, like what we saw with, with Doom and Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal though. If that's the case, I think Quake would definitely be a good fit for that though, but time will ultimately tell. We'll have to wait and see what id Software has to show. We also got reports about the synopsis for the Sonic the Hedgehog. The third Sonic the Hedgehog movie has sort of came out though. Nothing has been confirmed at this time from either Paramount or Sega though. It's based on what this leak is though. It seems plausible to be exact though. We know that for those who've seen Sonic the Hedgehog 2, spoiler alert for those who haven't seen the movie yet, though the end credit scene or the end scene did show basically Shadow the Hedgehog. So it certainly seems that Shadow the Hedgehog will certainly play a part. How big of a part remains to be seen. To reports that Biggs the Cat and Amy Rose could basically play a part in this though, and also there is reports Dr. Robotnik will be in it. It's unclear if Jim Carrey will return or not. He has indicated about retiring and all, but there has been some reports that he likes playing Dr. Robotnik, and he has made claims about the idea of wanting to see fat Dr. Robotnik in like the next Sonic movie. So we'll have to wait and see, but right now it is a rumor on the synopsis, so I would take it with a grain of salt. And if you do decide to read it, there may be some spoiler alerts, so I would be extremely careful with that though. And last but not least, continuing with the movie side of it though, it seems that Erez Miller though has apologized recently. He's the person who played the Flash in the sort of the DCEU movies though. He's been in the news lately. There's been because of certain confrontations he has had though he's recently reported that he's been suffering from mental health issues to be exact though. Hopefully he is able to get the help he needs and everything like that. I mean, obviously he's going through some extremely tough times at this moment though. Okay, with the Quick My 2 Cent part now done, we'll get started with our first story, and this one has to do with THQ Nordic, particularly with the showcase that they recently held though. Now, with E3 not happening this year, we've seen companies sort of go their own direction in terms of showcases, what they want to show off and all that stuff though. And THQ Nordic certainly has been no exception, to be exact. We've seen THQ Nordic has, since its revival, we've seen them really gain back, some of the rights to their IPs, to even growing their studios, though, courtesy of Embracer Group, which I'll get to part 4 in this video, to be exact, though. And, well, recently they've hosted their showcase, to be exact. I didn't get a chance to watch it, unfortunately, though, but I did get to read about a lot of stuff that they showed, though. And depending on what your platform of choice is going to be, to be exact, though, some folks might like what they showed during the showcase, others may not, with one little surprise at the end. In terms of what they showed off, and there's several articles about it, links in the description, though, some of the games they showed was a reimagining or remake of the classic Alone in the Dark that was released on the PC, I think like a long time ago. So that certainly is nice indeed, though. No word on platform at this time, though, so it's sort of too early to tell, though. But my guess, PS5, Xbox Series S and X, PC most likely, though. They announced Tempest Rising, which is supposed to be inspired by the real-time strategy games from the 90s and the 2000s. This is being developed by Slipgate Ironworks from Denmark, and it's being developed for the PC. We have Space for Sale, which is a game being developed by PC, which they have it as a mission to explore strange new worlds, seek out new life, and build real estate on alien worlds. They had something called Recreation, WRECKREATION. Sorry about not saying the name correctly, though. It's being developed by a game from Three Field Entertainment, which is made up of folks who worked on the Burnout and Need for Speed series, though. Again, no word on any platform at this time, but I'm going to take a guess, most likely PS5, Xbox Series S, X and S, and PC. Gothic, I've heard some stuff about that game before, though. It's developed by German RPGs, the same folks who did, I think, the Risen games, to be exact, though. They're remaking this one. It's currently in development, though. It's being developed by Aulx, ALKIMIA Interactive, though. It's coming to PC, PS5, and Xbox Series S and X. No word about it coming on Game Pass at this time, so we'll have to wait and see about that. Jagged Alliance 3, though, it's combines a strategy campaign with turn-based tactic combat and RPG elements, though. This is being developed for PC by HAEMIMONT Games. Apologize, I'm not saying the name correctly, though. They showed off Aulx 2, which is basically developed by Aulx Studio, and supposedly it's coming soon for PC, PS5, and the Xbox Series X and S, though. They showed off basically SpongeBob, the comic shake, though, developed by the team for the Battle of Bikini Bottom. It's a new 3D platform. It's coming to PC, PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo Switch, though, which is certainly interesting, though. I mean, I thought Battle for Bikini Bottoms was a good game, though. I'm not saying it's going to give Mario a run for its money, but I can see why a lot of folks view that as probably one of the best SpongeBob SquarePants games out there, though. So certainly interesting, though. They showed off a bit of footage of AWE Fighting Forever, though. Again, we know it's coming to multiple platforms, including the Nintendo Switch, though. No release date at this time. We do know it's being developed by Aulx, who worked on several of the WWE games, though, and no word on how the Switch version is going to be. My hope, at least with the Switch version, that it's definitely better than what we saw with WWE 2K18 and how that performed, or as bad, or hopefully it's not what we saw with WWE 2K20 and that kind of train wreck that turned out to be for 2K. So we'll have to wait and see about that one, but we know that one's coming to multiple platforms, though. Knights of Honor 2 Sovereign is being developed for the PC by Black Seas Games, though. Destroy All Humans Reprobed, though, is the remake of the second Destroy All Human games that was originally released back on the Xbox and the PlayStation, though. It launches this month, though. No word if this is coming to the Nintendo Switch, but given how the first Destroy All Humans remake made its way to the Switch, my guess is that it will eventually come to the Nintendo Switch, probably a little bit later down the line, if that does happen though. Way of the Hunter. Way of the Hunter is basically a hunting type of a game though. Not really my type of thing, but I'm sure there are folks who enjoy that type of game though. Stunfest World Tour though. 18 players compete against each other in an elimination-based stunt show through various game mode. It's being developed by Powwow Entertainment for PC though, so something for if you're into those type of games though. The Valet though leads a band of brothers through medieval Europe to stop a one mad villain though, who's trying to get a mythical and powerful artifact that will give him unearthly powers. It's being developed by Kite Games, and it's coming soon to the PC. And last but not least, one of the interesting announcements is that it's been reported that that THQ Nordic, along with South Park Games, are working on a brand new South Park title though. But now, no word on what this might be though. It could be, there are many different ways to go. It could be a continuation of what started with South Park: The Stick of Truth and The Fractured But Whole, or it could be something completely different though. I mean, the first two South Park games, Stick of Truth and Fractured But Whole, were actually very good, and I certainly would love to see him do a third RPG outings with South Park though. But I wouldn't be against something completely different if it's done, right and all that stuff. But right now, we'll have to wait and see. I'm kind of curious to see why they didn't go with Ubisoft this time though. Maybe THQ Nordic offers something better, but then again, THQ Nordic originally was going to publish the Stick of Truth, South Park Stick of Truth, before they filed for they were originally called THQ before they filed for bankruptcy and then reemerged as THQ Nordic though. I will say the takeaway from what they showed, or based on what I read, is that this one's, while there certainly were a lot of games that they announced though, and I'm sure there's going to be plenty of titles that will appeal to different folks out there, it's pretty clear that the majority of these titles were basically aimed for those who were into like the PC side of gaming and all. Now, I got nothing against those who like the game on PC or anything like that. I'm a console gamer though, but I have nothing against PC gaming. Everyone has their own different systems and what they like and everything like that, and that's fine. You have your own preference, your own taste and all, and that's okay. If you're into PC gaming, then you probably would then there's a good chance you may like what THQ Nordic has showed off during their showcase, depending if the type of games they showed interest you and all. But if you're not really into PC gaming, you might be somewhat disappointed with this showcase, because obviously this one's more towards, based on what the games they showed, was more towards the PC, those who like the game on PC or not. Still, there were some neat announcements announced for it though. I will say some of the games though, like I'm curious to see how the SpongeBob game will play. Maybe they improve upon some areas or not. I am curious to see what this new game from South Park Games might be. So, I mean, there were some neat announcements and all. So, overall though, some interesting announcements. I'm sure there's plenty of games that they showed off that will appeal to a lot of folks though. And obviously, I do feel this one, like I said, is more geared towards those who are more into the PC gaming side of things. Again, like I said, I don't think that's necessarily bad though, but if you're into more of like the console gaming, PS5, Xbox Series S and X, Nintendo Switch, you might be a little disappointed that some of these games were specifically announced for PC and not for, your system of choice and all. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we'll get to part 2, and this one has to do with Disney making an announcement in regards of them doing their own showcase. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 2 of my 2 cent video for this week. And for this one, we're going to be talking about Disney and a recent announcement they made though. Now, when it comes, in terms of Disney's handling some of the license for video games or anything like that, I will say they've done both somewhat of a good job with it though. They tried basically wanting to do their own studios, to develop the games and all, like or purchase studios like they did with Junction Point with Epic Mickey, but later started to move away from that and move more towards, licensing their characters to other studios to develop their games though. And while there have been some successes, like with them licensing Spider-Man, just the recent announcement Wolverine, they've also met with some mixed results. The Avengers game is certainly one example. To basically the whole situation with Star Wars, giving it just to EA, which led to Battlefront 1 and 2, and the whole controversy with loot boxes and microtransactions, although Jedi Fallen Order tended to fare very well and all. So you could say that as far as them licensing their characters out to other studios, it's had some hit and miss to some degree. But in either case though, it seems as though Disney is moving forward with basically doing their own showcase that they plan to hold in September during, I think, D23 though. In an article published by IGN, links are in the description below, it announced that, quote, let's see if I could announced first ever Disney and Marvel game showcase coming in September. It also mentions stuff from like 20th Century Studios and Pixar and Disney Pixar. But anyway, it says, quote, a first ever Disney and Marvel game showcase will debut next month, featuring brand new video games and announcements from the likes of Star Wars, Pixar, Marvel, and more. A digital showcase will debut during the D23 Expo on September 9th and has already promised further updates on Marvel's Midnight Sun, which, for those who are aware of, that got delayed though. Amy Hamilton's Marvel Assemble game from Skydance New Media, Lego Star Wars A Skywalker Saga, and Disney's Dreamlight Valley. Marvel games, Lucas games, and 20th Century games will also be presented to some degree during the showcase, bringing reveal announcements to trailers for new and upcoming games according to Disney. The Disney and Marvel showcase will be streamed simultaneously online, meaning even those not at the D23 Expo can watch along. It will be available on the Expo's YouTube and social media channel alongside Disney's Marvel main channel at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 9 p.m. UK, and 6 a.m. on September 10th, I believe AEST. I think that might be Australia time, but I'm not 100% sure about that. So in terms of this showcase though, what could they show during this D3 showcase? Well, obviously, as they mentioned, there could be new updates to Lego The Star Wars Saga, some of the Marvel games and all that. Maybe they'll have Sony show off maybe more stuff about Spider-Man 2 or, the Wolverine game that we know Insomniac is working on though. Maybe the rumors about that Epic Mickey remake happening, maybe they'll show that too. Maybe they'll show a game from 20th century. Maybe they'll show something like based off of Bob's Burger or something like that. So there's many ways you can approach this, to be exact though. And while I am kind of curious to see what Disney wants to show during this Disney and Marvel showcase though, I do think it is important to basically keep expectations in check though. While Disney and Marvel could surprise us at some of these announcements, ranging from some of the games to the shows to movies and all, though sometimes there's always people raising expectations too high only to set themselves up for disappointment though. This is something I've seen before many times for those who watch the Nintendo Direct. There's always rumors about this is going to be announced at this Direct and all that stuff, and that doesn't always happen, to be exact. So I would approach with keeping expectations in check though. That said, I am kind of curious to see what they are going to announce at this Disney and Marvel showcase. So overall, I'm kind of curious to see what they have announced though. There are certainly some games I would like to see announced, like Epic Mickey and all. And I am kind of curious to see what updates they have for some of the games, like say Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga to Spider-Man 2 and Wolverine though. But like anything though, it's, like I said before, it's wise to always keep your expectations in check though. Okay, I'm going to take a quick break. When we get back, we'll get to part 3, and this one has to do with a new allegation against Nintendo of America, and Doug Bowser responding somewhat to these new allegations. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 3 of my My Two Cents video, and this one has to do with Nintendo of America and recently some new allegations that have emerged against the American branch of Nintendo and all. Now, one of the things we have been seeing over the couple of years for the video game industry is we've seen mergings of allegations and all, and some calls for unionization to a certain degree. Some of these range from the working conditions for some of these companies, including the whole crunch issue to be exact, to the toxic environment though that some employees have faced though, particularly female employees though. We've heard it from companies like ranging from Rockstar and all, but the one that kind of exploded the most is we've been seeing is with Activision Blizzard, when a story popped out about allegations of how certain employees, including female employees, even the CEO himself, Bobby Kotick, in terms of his behavior against some of the employees. So for Nintendo, we have seen this year though, about several reports coming out of allegations made about how some of their employees, to even some of the contract workers to be exact, how some of them were treated though. Well, recently, Kotaku published a new article that came out that recently highlights some new allegations, and this time with how some female employees are being treated. And according to some of these allegations, some are saying this is almost very similar to what basically Activision Blizzard is going through. Now, Kotaku's article is sort of a bit lengthy though, but I'll have the link of it. I'll have the article with the link in the description down below though. But a quick summary here by Nintendo Life with a update from Nintendo America. It reads, quote, "In a disturbing report published by Kotaku, it is alleged that contract workers at Nintendo America through contracting firm Aerotech have been subject to years of sexual harassment and discrimination from both fellow contractors and full-time Nintendo employees. The report is the latest in a series of accusations against both Nintendo of America and Ashton Carter, the company in which Aerotech was reorganized and through which many of the workers interviewed were employed. Kotaku spoke to 10 sources who worked at Nintendo in various capabilities in the last 10 years, and described the testing department at NOA that often felt like a frat house, echoing similar accusation made against Activision Blizzard in 2021 though. Incidents reported by contractors to their employees were alleged played down, with one interviewee claiming that the contracted firms warned her to be less outspoken. The article details how the potential of gaining a permanent role at Nintendo, where full-time employees are known coincidentally as red badges in reference to their unique company ID cards, would often make alleged victims reluctant to report inappropriate behaviors for fear of irreparably harming their career prospects. This is just one aspect of a much larger report that details contractors struggling to assert pay equality, allegations of favoritism and cronyism, and claims made against specific full-time employees at Nintendo of America that include stalking and verbal threats. Now, following this story that came out from Kotaku, though, apparently Nintendo of America, particularly Doug Bowser, has issued a response to this, and this one is also from basically Nintendo. This is from Nintendo Life, and here's what it has to say, though. Quote, excuse me. Yesterday, Kotaku published a report with new rounds of accusations against both Nintendo of America and contracting firm Ashton Carter. In an update, the same outlet has now sent an internal message sent by Nintendo of America President Doug Bowser to employees regarding the media coverage involving claims made about workers' conduct. Here's what Bowser had to say. Quote, though, "We have strict policies designed to protect our employees and associates from inappropriate conduct and expect full compliance with these policies by all for or with us. We have and will always investigate any allegations we became aware of, and we are actively investigating these most recent claims. Please remember that our HR team are here to support you. If you have witnessed anything concerning such behavior that is contrary to our standards of conduct, employees, handbook, or company value, please immediately contact your HR business partner. The NOA president previously issued an internal message to staff in May about allegations working conditions at Nintendo. They talk about, you can read about the story that they reported yesterday and all. So, I mean, to me though, as a Nintendo fan, it breaks my heart to hear these kind of allegations and on all that. Nevertheless, though, these are very, very serious allegations being leveled at the employees at Nintendo, and I can see why some people are not happy with Nintendo of America, to be exact, though. And while it's certainly nice to hear Doug Bowser respond to this, there is that old saying that goes, action speaks louder than words. So this may come off as just a PR statement, but it's not going to mean much, though, if they don't really do anything to address this issue and all. It's also one of the reasons why we're seeing more and more of a push for unionization in the gaming space, though, because of a lot of these allegations and these inappropriate behaviors being done, though. Now, it's unclear if we're going to see any push of unionization from any of the employees or any of the contractor workers who work with Nintendo and all, though, but I could definitely see the call for it following these reports of these allegations. And if more and more of this stuff comes out, then I would say I'm more in favor of if these employees or contract workers want to unionize. Don't get me wrong, though. I think that any decision of unionization must be up to the employees. They have to weigh the pros and cons and determine, is this the direction they want to go or not, though. But this kind of behavior should not be tolerated at all, and not only in the gaming space, but any market out there in general, though. And if it turns out if Nintendo of America doesn't do anything like what we see with Activision and Blizzard, then yeah, I could see the push for them trying to unionize. I know Nintendo doesn't want to hear that, but if you don't decide not to address the problem, then yeah, employees may choose to make the decision to decide that if unionization is the right direction to go or not. So overall, I do hope this problem is addressed, though, at Nintendo of America, but it certainly does highlight the problem the gaming industry as a whole needs to address. This kind of behavior cannot continue on anymore. We cannot continue to have this kind of behavior at how employees are treated, especially female employees. And when you hear stories like this, you can see why there's a push more and more for unionization in the gaming space, though. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to our fourth and final part. And this one has to do with Embracer Groups buying up even more studios, including non-gaming things like Lord of the Rings and all. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with our fourth and final part of our My 2 Cent video, and for this one, I want to be taking a look at Embracer Group, which has recently made a bunch of new purchases, so including some non-gaming stuff, to be exact, though. Now, Embracer Group has sort of been kind of interesting, and we've been seeing them have been gobbling up or buying studios left and right, much similar to what we've seen with companies like, say, Tencent, to basically even Microsoft with their purchase of Bethesda, and they're pushing to conclude the purchase of Activision Blizzard, to other groups that have sort of put some investments into some of this stuff, like with this firm from Saudi Arabia that has bought some stakes in companies like Nintendo, to SNK, to even, of course, Embracer Group. And earlier this year though to be exact, we learned that Embracer Group bought the rights of several IPs and studios that were once part of Square Enix, like Eidos Montreal and Crystal Dynamics, now owning the rights to like Legend of Kain Soul Reaper, the Deus Ex, and Tomb Raider and all. Well, recently the studio has now made some new purchases, to be exact, though, and some of these are both gaming and non-gaming related, including the Lord of the Rings and all. Several articles about this though, but in a quick summary from Nintendo Life, it reads, quote, Swedish video game company Embracer Group has acquired not one but multiple companies and IPs for an undisclosed sum. In a series of press release, Embracer announced the acquisition of Tripwire Interactive, which is known for making Killing Floor, Maneater, Rising Storm, Tuxedo Lab, Teardown, Singtrix, Singtrix, Vocal Processing Effort Tech, Physical Distributor Limited Run Games, excuse me, and also secured the rights to The Lord of the Rings and Hobbit's literature works by J.R.R. Tolkien. Embracer Group's acquirers of Tolkien's universe, including Middle-earth Enterprise, which owns the rights to the video game, board games, merchandise, and other related work. Embracer operated groups ASMODEE already has a history license. It has a history license licensing the Lord of the Rings board game and card game. Upcoming projects including the Amazon series, an animated Lord of the Rings movie, as well as Electronic Arts mobile game, The Lord of the Rings Heroes of Middle-earth. The acquisition of Limited Run gives Embracer the physical publishing and its Carbon engine, internally developing technology that allows for legacy contents and highly accurate emulation-based retro games to be ported to modern hardware. LGR will continue to operate as an independent subsidiary. Other companies include TATSUJIN, Embracer's first studio located in Japan, led by, I think, Topin, TOAPLEN's founder, Bitware Games, Wondering DX, and Gyotech, a leading game accessory brand. The acquisition of TATSUJIN includes the categories of Truxton, Snow Brothers, Flying Sharks, etc. Bitware will also help release highly regarded shoot-'em-up games from Toplan and the NES Famicom platform Gimmicks on consoles. You can read more about these acquisitions on the company's website, including the announcement of Embracer Free Mode. It's the 11th operating group comprised of gaming and entertainment companies owned by Embracer. Embracer Groups already has 10 operative groups, 120 studios, and over 850 franchises under its belt. Some of the studios include THQ Nordic, Coffee Stain, Gearbox Entertainment, Saber, and Dark Horse Media. So to hear about Embracer Group acquiring some of these new studios, including limited run games and everything like that, I just come away from this somewhat mixed though. On one hand, though, we know that Embracer Group has been mostly pushing, a lot of games they pushed out have been mostly, like AA titles and all, which has certainly not been bad or anything like that. And they've also helped revise some IPs that have sort of been dormant or something like that. And we have seen them remaster some games and release them onto current platforms and all. So there has been some good things that I think Embracer Group has done. And their purchase of limited run games, hopefully this means that this leads to putting these limited run games out a bit quicker than what we've seen so far from limited run games and all. So on one hand, there's some good out of this, but on the other hand, it does bring up the whole monopoly issue, much like we saw with Microsoft buying Activision Blizzard. There's this concern about them having a big company controlling all of this and all these other companies and all. So it just brings that monopoly issue up. So there is a little bit of concerns about this. And the fact that they owned now the Lord of the Rings and Hobbit, it does make you kind of wonder about the future of really Lord of the Rings video games. We know that there's one, I think called Gollum, if I'm saying the name correctly, that's in development, that's supposed to be out next year and all. We know that Private Division is supposedly working on a Lord of the Rings game, to be exact. So there's still a lot of questions about Embracer Group and them buying all these studios, which many concern could be a monopoly though. But like I said, there are some good to it. They have been very focused on reviving some of these IPs and all that stuff, and have, done a pretty good job with them. So to me, the decision of Embracer Group buying these groups are kind of mixed, though. Maybe not on the level as what we've seen with EA, where they have a history of buying studios and then shutting them down when they don't meet their quarter earnings or meet the sales expectation they set, or EA evokes a policy that even that studio doesn't agree with, though. But still, you cannot ignore the monopoly issue in general. So overall, a bit surprised to see Embracer Group buying some of these studios, though. But like I said, I am kind of mixed, though. There are some things Embracer Group does that I think is great and all for gaming and all, especially pushing for, AA games or reviving some IPs and all. But just like with Microsoft buying Activision Blizzard, it does bring up the whole monopoly issue that really can't be ignored either as well. Okay, this concludes this My 2 Cent video for this week. And again, these are my opinion. What are yours? What are your thoughts about THQ Nordic's showcase? Did you like what THQ showed? Did you not like what they showed, though? Did you feel like the show was a little bit more geared for those who are into the PC side of gaming, though, or you weren't really bothered by this, though? What are your thoughts about Disney and Marvel hosting their own showcase, though? Do you think they may surprise us at their showcase? Do you feel like this is they're just going to be updates of stuff that are already out right now, though? Do you have high expectations for it? Do you have low expectations, or are you sort of staying in the middle, though? What are your thoughts about these latest allegations from Nintendo America? Do you think this paints that there is a much bigger problem at Nintendo America? Do you think they will address this issue? Do you think that like what Doug Bowser said, though? Or do you think that this may be high times for some of these contractors or workers at Nintendo to consider the idea of, or Nintendo of America to consider the idea of unionization? And what are your thoughts about Embracer Group buying several of these studios, including limited run games, and owning the rights to now The Lord of the Rings and Hobbits? Do you think this is a good thing? Do you think Embracer Group will do a good job with it? Or are you concerned that this does bring up the whole monopoly issue and all? Do you agree with what I said in this video? Do you disagree? Do you have a difference of opinion? As always, sound off on the comment section below. Let me know what you think. And if you do like this video, I hope you hit the like button. I will appreciate it. And I hope you do subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you do, make sure you hit the bell icon for notifications of any new videos I put up. Also, feel free to share this video if you want to, and feel free to donate to my channel if you like. You could do it through PayPal me or Patreon. Links will be in the description of this video, assuming you're watching this on YouTube. And I will see you again next time when I do another video. Hopefully that'll be soon. Until then, from Southern California, I wish you all a good day then. Bye!